The S&P 500 recorded a drop of 5.94% on Friday, April 4th, the largest decline since 2020, to emphasize the case more here, since the day, March 12th, 2020, when we had the last major drop in the daily chart of the S&P 500 of 9.90%, almost 10%, and now practically 6%. So the circuit breaker was triggered. This happened because of the tariffs, the famous tariff hike, as everyone is saying. This caused a commotion, including the Japanese stock market also experienced a 3% drop, right? So it took advantage of the situation. The S&P 500 was falling, and it also took advantage of this and dropped as well. The crypto market also, we had a sharp drop, and of course there were companies that fell significantly just today, with BTC dropping 5.65%, roughly the same percentage that the S&P 500 fell on Friday. The S&P 500, it will open shortly. The futures chart, there is a great chance that we might intensify this drop even further, with declines to levels of $4,800, $4,700 or points, however you want to call it, and cause another panic. I would say that another circuit break would be entirely plausible. So from the opening, another 5% would be around 4,850. Another 5% drop would be totally acceptable for the S&P 500 market. The problem is that the large companies also end up suffering, and then we can look at Google's chart here within the Nasdaq. We also see declines here since the beginning of the year. If we take the chart here, I'll take the annual chart right away so we can see this, what the total is within a year. So in the year, yes, Google is down 23%, as we can see here, which is completely normal. A rise is normal for us to correct in order to continue going up. But we're returning. We went up the entire 2024, and we're giving it all back within an annual chart that still has 3 months left. And we are only in the 4th month. We can put here the company that usually falls the least within these trades, which is Apple. And it also records a drop of 24%, which is quite significant. But notice that the chart is completely stretched, which would be normal. We always fall here. We always have a year of decline. The last drop for Apple was in 2022. Now it's 2025, right? So we had 2 years of growth for 1 year of decline, which is completely normal. We are giving back all the gains from 2024. Also, we can put Microsoft here to see how Microsoft's decline is going. We have already given back the entire gain from 2024. In 2024, we had a 12% gain, and this year, Microsoft has accumulated a 14% loss in its shares, largely due to, once again, the tariffs that President Donald Trump is imposing. This ends up generating negative impacts within the market. So, no, there is nothing we can do except give it time. Now, returning to the crypto market, going back to BTC with this drop that has just intensified a bit more, largely because the S&P 500 is about to open around 8 and a little bit shortly, in a few already. It will open shortly, okay? And we are accumulating losses, with Ethereum dropping 11% today, BTC falling by 5.68. We should intensify this drop further and return to levels of $60,000 here in BTC. This would be both good and bad, because it means that altcoins are capitulating. So if you, like me, don't understand why all of this is happening, and we end up putting the factors together, right? It's the S&P 500, tariffs, stock market crash, as the president taxed all countries, including Brazil, where I am right now, by 10%. We didn't have that high tariff, but this ended up harming other countries. countries being taxed at 30% like China, which is a country that exports a lot, being taxed at 34% and ends up retaliating, sending more tariffs to the United States, if I'm not mistaken, imposed 64% tariffs on the United States. TTT Trump also taxed Europe. Europe is already saying that it needs to adapt to what Trump is doing to avoid depending on Donald Trump, while Trump's intention is to bring these countries to set up companies to make their products within the United States so that they don't have this high tariff and the money circulates within the United States. But that's not the result. Trump is getting. And the reflection of this is all the stock markets falling, both the SP 500 and the Japanese stock market and Bovespa, which is more or less the same, hasn't changed at all, but it's also been terrible for years, right? And the crypto market, which was also quite stretched. Now, when we put it into another perspective, when we look at it within the view of a larger chart, I'll put it here. I'll use a monthly chart. We see that the S&P 500 stretched. It also hit its extension target here, if we place it here, within the target of this last little bottom here, okay? We hit all the targets around the 6,000 points mark, and now it's normal to have a correction. The problem is that we have already lost the last support point today, or rather, we are exactly on top of it. The S&P opened with a drop, 4,050 at this moment, and it's sinking. It already opened with a gap and has practically dropped 5% there, right? Just a little more to go. Look, so we already have a drop here of 3.4%. Live. And this is causing more panic because Europe is selling. The countries that are being taxed are pulling money out of the S&P 500. All countries have money invested in the dollar, have money invested in the S&P 500. We end up seeing this reflection with such an intense drop. I'll put up the 5-minute chart here so we can see what's happening. Look at this good drop. Look at this gap we left here on the 5-minute chart. So no, this is not good. And this is causing selling pressure within the market. The dominance of the dollar starts to surge, which is not good for the crypto market, nor for other segments as a whole, because this guy here, it is inversely proportional to the entire currency basket. If the money is coming into the dollar's dominance, and this guy here surges, BTC could easily fall below $60,000. The S&P 500 could easily drop to Fibonacci levels, coming down to 4,500 points. At the moment, we are here within a target region. We are going to set a target here from this lower pivot here. Look, taking from this low, we have a target here at 900 to 4,800. That's the target, so we are on up top of the target region. A little more drop, and another circuit break will be triggered, which is quite likely to happen. Another one, look, we opened with 4.35%, just a little more. We're going to, this is the future, okay? This here is the futures. We will still have the opening of the traditional market, which should open with a drop. So the market is crashing. Live with you guys, right? What to do at this moment? Just watch, get out. Look, I believe that selling at this moment when it comes to the crypto market, and then this is market selling, okay? This is market selling. What's happening? The 1-minute chart. Look at this, folks. Look at this. 3 minutes since the futures opened, already dropping from 5,000 points to 4,800 points. And this drop is likely to intensify further. So the market is crashing, and this will create good opportunities, but it doesn't prevent the market from causing widespread panic. So it's important, especially for us who are in the cryptocurrency market, to look at the total market, put up a monthly chart, and see that we are dropping significantly. We are already losing the previous peak. This is very bad. This is a classic bull trap happening here. We need to get back above 2 trillion. That and 6 and 700 billion. We need to go above that. The scenario for altcoins is not much different. We have here a classic bull trap as well already in the bottom regions. If we lose these regions here, it will become very delicate. Altcoins can drop another 70%, putting the total 3, which are the altcoins, excluding the main ones, right? Excluding the top 10, we can also at first consider the major altcoins here as being a pullback, but we can still drop a little more. But it's well above the previous peak. So losing these regions where we are now significantly would be totally bad for the market. And everything will depend on this little guy here called the SP500. Will we fall? Will we not? At this moment, we are giving back the entire year of 2024. These declines should intensify a bit more. And Jinkai, so no one knows, Ichi, how far we will fall. I would honestly expect it to stop around here for a while, right? Up to 4,700, 4,600. It would be plausible. Because if we lose this little peak here, the situation will get ugly. We could see a drop so intense in the market that has never been recorded in history, because the data, if we go and analyze everything thoroughly, it is not good. So I wouldn't like to see this happen, but the market is sovereign and we continue to monitor it. I still believe that this panic even more so. Let me see how the VIX is doing. Especially looking at the VIX, which hasn't opened yet, right? The VIX hasn't opened yet, but we are at 45.30. We are reaching extreme panic. This guy here should still come to between 60 and 70 points, which I consider the best regions to enter the market heavily to gain profits in the year 2025. Let's keep monitoring. And once again, let's not panic. No panic. No panic. All right? Subscribe to the channel. Leave your like for more videos.